Hey, it's your professional sarcastic man and seeker of attention, Chris here with reviews on Symbiote Spider-Man #1 and Mary Shelley Monster Hunter #1. So starting off with Symbiote Spider-Man, I got the Art Germ cover. I mean, why not? It's Art Germ. It's beautiful. So basically, this is a it's a mini series set during when Peter had the black suit before finding out it was a symbiote before it turns into Venom. So during the whole Alien, the Alien Saga, whatever it was called. I know it includes the words aliens and saga. Sorry, not too versed in the Spider-Man deep lore. So the Alien Suit Saga, something like that. Okay, but. Mainly, that's part of it, but it's also Mysterio. So both Spider-Man and Mysterio take a part. They are the main characters of this mini-series. So Mysterio is he's trying to prove himself to be a capable villain, but seems like no one is taking him seriously, and so he decides to take on he decides to commit a robbery on a bank, which goes horribly wrong. It ends up with Mysterio accidentally causing the death of one of the bank tellers there, and it is it's a good moment for Mysterio as he's there at the funeral, not at the funeral, at the graveside of the bank teller Audrey. He's saying no one was supposed to die. I didn't want anyone to die. Johnny's right. Damn it, he was right. It took this long to sink in. I'm not a supervillain. It's all pretend. No different from one of my tricks. Real how would I say this? Kind of character development for the Mysterio. He wants to be taken seriously, and it's costing him. And during this. Peter is dating Felicia. Seems like they're trying to it's getting a little bit more serious on that end, and the issue ends with Spider-Man and Mysterio confronting one another, and Mysterio learning something vital to Spider-Man, to at least to his black suit. So story 4 out of 5. I know this miniseries is kind of completely unnecessary. It honestly really doesn't need to exist. I think I know why it exists. It's because it's what Marvel does a lot. They try to bank on the MCU, and because the next Spider-Man film, Far From Home, will debut Mysterio. It's coinciding, the Mysterio is going to be in the new MCU film, and now we're getting this a mini series about Mysterio back when Peter was wearing the black suit. All about him trying to prove himself to be an actual supervillain. It's going wrong for him. Too much of a coincidence. So yeah, this really only. I'm assuming it's highly likely this only exists because Mysterio is going to be in Far From Home, but I enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to at least continue it. I'll see how issue number 2 goes. The art by Greg Land and the coloring by Frank Diamata. 4 out of 5. I really like the art and the coloring in this. There's only one moment you get the typical Greg Land weird face with the Felicia. I think that's probably maybe the only moment, but apart from that, the art and the coloring by Land and Diamata is solid. It's really good. The standard cover, which was by Land and Diamata, that's good. That's good. I'll give that a 4 out of 5. But I got the variant by Art Germ. It's beautiful. Now, Art Germ's covers are always so beautiful. 4.5. I would give it 5 out of 5, but the cover is of Gwen Stacy, who has nothing to do with this. You could have just used Felicia, Black Cat, who is in this comic, maybe. I know Art Germ has a cover for for her own series. But for this one, you could have just used Felicia instead of Gwen Stacy. Nothing to do with this. But I enjoyed the cover, enjoyed the art, enjoyed the story. It really is a miniseries that doesn't need to exist, but I like it for the most part. So I'm going to see how it goes with issue number 2. So on to Mary Shelley, Monster Hunter. This is from Aftershock Comics. So it's kind of a what if like the events of Frankenstein were actually real? Like Mary Shelley based her most famous novel on true events and just slightly changed some stuff. I think I've gone on record saying I'm kind of it's like one of my genres or tropes that I like, taking like a work of fiction, kind of doing a twist on it. It's like, what if, what if Dracula, the events of Dracula were actually true or something like that? So that's what kind of interested me with, as much, to a kind of pick up this. I haven't read anything from Aftershock before, so this is my first one. So it is the writers and co-creators are Adam Glass, who you would know, most people would know, who currently writes Teen Titans, I believe. I'm pretty sure he still writes Teen Titans, and Olivia Suatero Briggs, and the art and the cover, and I assume the coloring as well, is by Hayden Sherman. So story starts off with a kind of a lecturer who's giving a tour of Mary Shelley, the writer of Frankenstein, her final residence in present day, talking about the depictions of Frankenstein, particularly the 1931 version film, and she stumbles across some notes which will give everyone the true history, the actual the truth behind the work of fiction that is Frankenstein. So going back to Geneva, Switzerland, 1815, Mary Shelley, her husband, her sister, her stepsister, and a famous poet, Lord Byron, are all traveling together, and they're forced to leave the residence of Johann Wisk when he dies. But at the same time, a servant for Frankenstein has requested their attendance and presence at his castle. They're allowed to stay there. Weird happenings are going on there. They're finding a bloody foot on the ground. Hearing screams, which leads to Mary Shelley finding Johann Wiss, who was supposed to be dead, and which leads to her finding Dr. Frankenstein, who is slightly different in this version, but I won't particularly spoil that. Story 3 out of 5. It was kind of average. It did take its time to lead up into the story. Mainly it was just setting up, like, this is the times, this is kind of the setting, the environment of 1815 Geneva, Switzerland, before going up to before they staying at Frankenstein and starting a little bit of the mystery. Art 2.5 out of 5. I'm not a fan of this art style. I can see what Hayden Sherman was going with, kind of gothic-ish with the art style and the coloring, but I'm not particularly a big fan of it. Cover, which was also by Sherman, 3 out of 5. Surprisingly, the art on the cover was much better than the art in the interior, and it's by the same person. Oh, I will say that with the interior, I did like the art in these first 2 pages where it's just they're talking. It's just the 1931 version of the Frankenstein film. I did like the art in that, but the rest, So that was Mary Shelley, Monster Hunter. It wasn't I think the premise and the idea is good, but it wasn't particularly a good it wasn't executed well with the first issue. It is mainly just building up to it, but I wasn't really impressed with it, so that'll be it for me for Mary Shelley Monster Hunter. So that is it for those two. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.